If you're looking for more than your GMRS handy talkie has to offer, you owe it to yourself to take a look at the DB20-G GMRS mobile radio from Radioddity. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on audio and video tools, action cams, and, as in this video, fun radio-related products. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to click the thumbs up icon below the video so YouTube will offer this to more folks. I really appreciate it. In this video, we'll be looking at a new GMRS mobile radio that can also be used as a base station at your home or business. The model number tells you a lot about the radio. The DB means dual band. That means you can program nearly 500 channels into the radio in either the 2-meter band as well as the 70-centimeter band. These will be receive-only channels. The 20 means that on high power, the radio can output 20 watts of power. That's much more than the typical 3 to 5 watts of power you'll get from a handy talkie. The G in the model number means GMRS. That means there are some limitations to the transmitter frequencies to abide by FCC rules for this Part 95 radio service, and you'll need a GMRS operator's license. Before we go into this review any further, I need to let you know that Radioddity provided me with this radio in exchange for the review. They have no approval authority over the review, and it's my honest opinion, but that's something you needed to know. There are a couple of features I want to note right up front. First is a feature many folks who live in repeater-rich areas have often commented upon. That is the ability to program duplicate repeater channels with the same channel number, but with different CTCSS or DCS codes. The DB20-G provides 9 slots where you can do just that. I'll explain that more in the CPS portion of this video, as that's where that happens. What that means to you is that switching between repeaters can be as easy as changing channels without editing CTCSS codes. Next, its low power consumption means that you can operate the radio using a 12-volt outlet in your car or truck. This makes it super easy to unplug and drop the radio into your car's console or under the seat to help avoid theft. And last, the color display will show the channel number, channel name, and frequency, so it's easy to know what you're tuned to. So, let's take a look at the radio, menus, CPS, mounting, and how it sounds. So here's the box that the Radioddity DB20-G comes in. It's a pretty small box because it's a pretty small radio. Let's take a look at what you'll find inside. First, we'll take a look at the radio. You can see you've got the model number and serial number and the FCC ID there on a little sticker on the top. The case is metal and it's got the heat sinks around it, so it should stay cool. It's connected to your power supply by a 12-volt plug style connector here that is wired into the back. The wire is not cut, it's one piece, so you don't have to worry about multiple parts in here. And then the microphone, which feels really good in the hand. It's got a little heft to it. The push-to-talk button is completely enclosed, and so it comes across there very nice. And a lot of the controls of the radio happen here on the face of the microphone. As a matter of fact, there are some things that happen just with the microphone alone, along with just moving up and down the channels with the buttons here at the top of the microphone itself. It connects to the radio with an RG45 type data plug, and I've got it plugged in right now. Let's tip this up and take a look at the face of the radio. So we've got the mic connection over here, we've got the on-off and volume over here. There are some little LED outputs along the edge of the knob there that illuminate, for example, when it's receiving and when you're transmitting, so they're right there. And then there is the VFO and memory switch, a main button, a monitor button, which basically will break the squelch, up and down buttons for channel changing, and a function button to enter into the various menu modes. The radio also comes with a little mobile mount. Since it's a mobile radio, it doesn't amount to much, but again, it's metal and certainly sturdy enough to hold the radio. And then a plastic parts bag here that includes an extra fuse, the microphone clip, the screw mounts, or the big plastic things here for screwing the radio into the mount, and then a variety of screws to mount the mic clip and the mounting bracket itself into your vehicle. And then last but not least, there are a couple of pads there, 3M sticky tapes with holes in them, so I'm thinking that you probably will use them either as buffers for the mounting bracket or for the mic clip itself. So that's the mounting accessories. And then there's one more piece, and that is the programming cable. Now, unlike the handy talkies with the K1 or Kenwood style connectors, this programming cable has an RG45 connector to it. So you're going to want to use this, and you want to keep track of it. There are instructions in the instruction manual that talk about making sure that you have the prolific drivers on your computer. And I found that when I programmed this, it worked just fine. So I've had this out, and this did work. My computer recognized this cable, and I was able to easily read and write to and from the radio. Let's move over to the radio desk and go through some menu operations. So let's take a quick tour of the menus for this DB20-G radio. Mostly we can do things here on the 6 buttons on the face of the radio, but there are a couple of things that we can only do on the microphone. So let's go through the menus quickly here on the DB20-G. Most of the things that we can do on the face of the radio. There are a couple of things that we can only do on the microphone, however. And then there's some other things that we can do on the microphone that we can't necessarily do on the faceplate of the radio. So to get started in menu mode, we're going to press the Fun button. That stands for function, and then we can work our way through the various items. So using the VM and the main button for up and down. So the transmitter CT-CSS tone, I've got it off on channel 23. The receive CT-CSS tone, I've got it off on channel 23. Now, if I want to make a change there, I'm going to press the monitor button, and now you can see I've got my numbers showing. And when I use my up and down keys here, I can make changes to the CT-CSS codes that are programmed into the radio. If I press monitor again, it gives me a chance to edit. It gives me another display there with some other codes. And then when I cycle through those, I get to off, which is where I want this right now. So I've got the DCS codes, tones, signal squelch, wide, narrow, a repeater lock. I can dial in my channel name, again, press monitor, and then the up and down to go through the letters. I can turn the compander off and on, and just these various other things. 5 tones, you can choose the tone that plays when you key the mic. Don't know why that's there, what it's used for. I've never heard of it before. Same with the 2-tone. We can use the display for the sub channel. And I've got it set for frequency. You'll notice when I get out of the menu, it's got a VHF call frequency, I think, dialed in there. I've got the beep on. I've got my timeout timer set. You can do DTMF things with this, but I'm not sure where you would use that. So again, there's some capability here that's typically not used by the casual GMRS user. So set the squelch, scan. There are 3 scan modes. They're described in the instructions. Change the backlight, turn the Vox on and off, Vox delay, and This tone, the 1750 tone, I think is an access tone used in Europe. I know it is in the ham bands. The DSP channel, I've got that displayed as channel. As you can see there on the top, it says channel 023. So that's what this command controls. And then I can reset it all. So those are the menu items. You maneuver the menu item by pressing the monitor, and then you can make choices using the up and down button, and then you can exit function by pressing the function button again. Now let's go through that same process, and this time using the microphone. Now I mentioned to you that there was one thing that the microphone will allow you to do that you can't do on the faceplate, or at least I haven't found a menu for it, and that's to save channels. So the instructions tell you to press the function key to store a channel, then press the up button on the microphone, and you can see that you can save it to, and it comes up with the first empty slot. So for me, it comes up on 39. And then to get out of that, I can press the VM button or B button there on the microphone. Let's go back in there again. So now we've got function, and we press the up button for store, and then we can also then press the up and down buttons on the top of the microphone to pick the channel slot that we're going to store that frequency in. Okay, so there we've got those. I'm going to back out without storing this. Now where this becomes important to you is that if you remember, we talked about the do-it-yourself repeater channels. You can't do that from the radio that I've been able to find. As you saw when we just tried to save, we could go to 39, we could go down to 14, but those channels from 31 to 39, which are the saves for the do-it-yourself channels on the repeaters, would only go to 39. It's possible that if I programmed into something into 39, the next one would give me 38. Haven't tried it. Give it a try if you'd like, but otherwise it's a lot easier just to do it in the customer programming software. So again, let's go into function, and like we did before, we can get our various choices, and then we're in the menu now, and I access the menu by pushing the number 1 on the handset. So before, when we pressed function and then VM, we started scrolling through the menus on the radio. Here on the microphone, you press function, press the number 1, and then now you can use the VM or the main key on the microphone to move your way through these various menu channels. So I'm going to exit that by pressing button D, and now I am out of that. Now the next thing that we're going to look at is the shortcut keys, and some of the obvious and more important choices are on shortcuts, and they're printed on the keys of the microphone. And so, for example, if we wanted to adjust the squelch or go directly to the squelch menu, we can press A to get the function at the top, and then 1, and then now we've got squelch. We press 1 again, and we can get out of that menu. Again, A for function, squelch is number 1, and it comes up. And then if I want to make a change, I can make a change using the up and down buttons on my microphone, and then press VM, and I'm going to move up to the next item, and then I can get out of this by pressing the D button that's labeled DIL. Another one of the shortcuts is scanning, which is choice number 4. So from the microphone, I can press A4, and the radio will start to scan. We can press function again, and it'll stop. So explore some of those keys on the microphone to see what the various shortcuts are. I noticed that the label in the manual and the label on the keys don't always match. So take a peek at those as you explore. But as you can see, making changes to the menus via the buttons on the radio or the microphone buttons is really pretty easy to do. Now, let's take a look at the CPS for the DB20-G. Okay, so here we are in the customer programming software for the DB20-G radio. And these are the primary frequencies that have been stored. These are ones that you can't change. If we scroll to the bottom, we're going to see that we've got the weather channels there in line 494 through 500. And then we've got a couple of VFO standard settings there. And we're going to make some changes to those here. So we're going to start by going to the set menu, and we're going to set our COM port. And our COM port is COM port 4. The two that it reads are 1 and 4, and I'm pretty sure it's COM port 4 that we want to use. And then we're going to go into program where we can read from the radio or write to the radio, and we're going to read from the radio. And we can also use these icons here and here. So I'm going to read from the radio. And now you can see that it's passing data, and the display on the radio says reading. Read data complete. The radio did a little chime, and now it's back to its normal operating display over there. And so you can see then that we have those same channels, and I've programmed a repeater here, and this is where I want to start. This has 9 do-it-yourself repeater channels, and those 9 are 31 through 39. So these channels are going to allow you to transmit if you've set one of the repeater channels up in there. And so in the Phoenix area, there's an open repeater called Shaw 725, and it's this transmit and receive frequency. It's decimal 725. Now, to program memories in here, I'm just going to do one that I make up because you can see an actual repeater right here. But if we go here and want to start typing in a frequency, you're not going to get anything. And then when we go here, you're not going to get anything either. And you say, what's up with that, right? Well, you have to go and enter your data after clicking on these 2 little right arrows. So I'm going to double click that, and then you get a dialog box that allows you to edit the channels. And so if we were going to use this particular repeater channel, which is on channel 28, and so the receive frequency is 462,675. So we'll add that in. And you get it in drop downs because these are do-it-yourself, but they're still GMRS, so you don't get much flexibility in here. So 462, what did I say that we wanted to use? 462,675, there it is. And then you see that the transmitter frequency is already added into that, and then now we can give it a name. So we'll just call it sample. The step is 2.5, channel spacing is wide, and these are really the only choices we have here. I'm going to use high power, so I'm going to choose my high power setting. We'll say that it had a DCS. Let's say its DCS was 67, the encode and decode was 67, and these other things I'm not going to worry about. The compounder I'm going to keep off. And so I'm all done. So I can exit this, and now I have that frequency programmed in. And so when I write now to the radio, my channel 32 is going to show this repeater at 675 repeater, and called sample in our radio. So I'm going to leave that there for now so you can see what the write will look like. Go back and delete that a little bit later. And then down here we've got a couple of VFO frequencies, and again we really can't make any changes down there until we hit the double arrows. And so on this one I want to enter in the frequency on number 1 to be the UHF call frequency in the ham bands. My ham operator 2, so it's 446.000, another 0 there, and it's going to be a simplex, and so we're going to leave it there. So when I click in there, it changes to 446. And I can give it a name if I wanted to, but I display my VFO and frequency. So I'm just going to remember that's what it is. Hams used wide, the power is high. So these other things I'm just not going to mess with. And so I'm going to hit OK. And so you can see down here, now I've got my UHF call as the primary frequency on VFO1. Remember, it's not one of the GMR channels, so it's not going to transmit, but I can listen. These are the National Weather Service channels for weather in your area, the NOAA. And so you cycle through them until you find one that you can listen to, basically, because as you travel around, different parts of the country use different frequencies. So now let's scroll back up to the top. If you wanted to add just receive channels, they're going to start receiving at channel 40. And so you can make those adds here in this line. Again, they don't come up until you open them up, and you get that same familiar dialog box where you can add receive. Now, if you program a receive channel using the menus in the radio, using the buttons on the radio or the buttons on the microphone, and you tell it to save, it's going to offer you channel 40. Or the first one after channel 40 that's empty. So the only way that you can get to those do-it-yourself repeater channels that I've been able to figure out to get to channel 31 through 39 is to do it through the customer programming software. So that's what we've done here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save. And I have this in OneDrive, Chirp Images. I've got other than Chirp Images here. I've got the DB20-G listed there. And I'm just going to name it by today's date. And so it's June, let's see, 29th, 2021. And so 6/29/2021, it's a data file, and I'm going to save. And so now I'm done. I've got the changes I've made. I'm going to write to the radio. So again, I'm going to use the icon. Do I want to write to the radio? Yes, I do. And so now the radio says writing. It's working through the progression there on the display. And now I've made those channel changes to my radio. Now, I want to go back and show you a couple of other little displays here, knowing that you would write them the same way. But I can go into my function setup, and I get a dialog box there. And so I can say, how do I want my display mode? I want it to show channel. I want the main one on the upper one. And these various things that you can also access via the menus on the radio. You know, the down memory channel, squelch level, what the backlight is, and some of these things you can make changes to here, the language that the radio talks to you in, those kind of things. DTMF tones, if you're using this in a business kind of setting or in an area where you are transmitting DTMF tones, that's not the same as CTCSS. This is different. You have some dialog boxes there. Generally, you're not going to be working with those. Same with 2 tones, same with 5 tones. You've got these dialog boxes that are available to you. There's some information on scanning. You can see I have my scan mode on. Priority is channel 1, and I can make changes there. So if I wanted to make my priority, say, channel 16, you know, I could make that change here. Emergency information, this is for alarms. Again, most GMRS operators aren't going to worry about that. The communication notes is if you wanted to put in some IDs for when you broadcast. Again, the radio's got more capabilities here than we typically use in just plain family-oriented GMRS, and then what our embedded message might be. So those are the various things that are available to us here in these various settings, and they're available here in this menu tree, or they're available under the edit menu. So since I have already saved this, since I've already written it to the radio, I'm good to go. I can close this out, and I can see that I have the changes that I've made here on my radio. Let's go outside and review some mounting tips if you're planning to put your new DB20-G in your vehicle. As you can see in these pictures, I've got this mounted in a cup holder style mount I got on Amazon. I'll put links in the description below. I'm using a Comet S460 SB dual band antenna with a clip mount near the B pillar of my F-150. Since F-150s are aluminum, magnetic mounts won't work. I also use this antenna with my mobile ham radio. With the DB20-G, I got SWR readings from about 1.1 to 1 on the low GMRS channels and 1.4 to 1 on channel 29. The coax runs under the trim, under the seat, around the console, and then up to enter at the front. There are detents to prevent squashing the wire. There's a switched 12-volt socket in the console, so the radio's 12-volt plug goes there. I double-checked the truck's manual, and each 12-volt socket has a separate 20-amp circuit. That's plenty of capacity for a small radio like this one. This setup allows for easy viewing of the radio display as well as easy removal to the console. Finally, here's some audio of a couple of folks chatting about their experiences in and around some of this summer's fires in Arizona.
Air conditioning, and it was still getting in the truck.
Yeah, same thing was going on with us. So we went up to right around Cottonwood up there.
Yeah, that had to have been so bad that I can't even imagine anybody even trying to do anything outside.
Now, in terms of range, my GM30 GMRS handy-talkie was able to transmit back and forth with me while I was in my truck up to a distance of about 6 miles away. It could copy the signal from the DB20-G up to about 7 miles away. I'm also able to easily access a repeater that's about 10 miles away. Topography and vegetation heavily influence radio range, so use this as a guide and not a guarantee. As I hope you've seen, the DB20-G mobile radio is a nice little mobile transceiver for GMRS enthusiasts. It comes with a rich feature set along with some features not normally found on GMRS radios. If you're looking for a larger, more powerful GMRS radio for mobile or base station use, you owe it to yourself to consider what this radio has to offer. At this price point, it's a good value. Hey, if you found this video helpful, please click the thumbs up button below the video and subscribe to the Gadget Talk channel. Click the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching.